This podcast is part of the Podcast Arcade Network.
Welcome to another episode of Paranormal Dads. I'm your co-host Andy.
I'm Eddie.
I'm Pat.
Join us as we go in search of the world's monsters, myths, and mysteries right here on Paranormal Dads. All right, guys, welcome to another episode.
Yes.
This one's a little bit special. We have it's special because we have a special guest. We have Melissa on with us. Hi, Melissa.
Hello.
Oh my goodness. Be
Thanks.
our guest. Be our guest. Put our paranormal to the test. You will see the ghosts and aliens, and they will do the rest.
You know, we've had requests on social media to just let Eddie go nuts with these songs. They're like, when are we going to get another Eddie rendition of Yeah.
Of Backstreet's Back. You'll get that was kind of a paranormal music video though.
Yeah,
Boys?
yeah, kind of.
Yeah. Anyway,
Backstreet Boys. We're off to a good start.
I digress.
And since we have four people here today, we had to improvise because we don't have a fourth microphone stand today.
Yeah.
So Eddie actually is using two garden gnomes as a microphone stand. We'll have to get a picture of this and post it on the Facebook page.
Yeah. Thanks for tolerating our weirdness, Melissa, and for agreeing to be on with us.
Absolutely.
We're just going to be snapping pictures of Eddie this whole episode.
Did you warn Melissa ahead of time is my only question.
A little bit, but
Okay, good.
I realized once she got here, I really didn't give her any information. It's other than it's a weird podcast. We talk about ghosts and aliens and Bigfoot and stuff, and that's pretty much all she knows. But
Well, there you go. Welcome on board.
Thank you.
But I got to chatting with Melissa, and her segment's going to come up last during the main mystery. But she shared some stories with me, experiences that she's had, and it gave me goosebumps. And my first thought was, hey, I do this podcast with my buddies. You want to be on and share that story? And thankfully, she agreed to it. So she's going to be with us.
That's awesome. We appreciate having you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we're going to power through all the segments before we get to main mystery. So as always, our first segment is recent sightings, and I'm up to bat with this one, guys.
Ooh, here we go.
All right, I got a doozy for you guys. So, ever heard of Ogopogo?
I've heard of it. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's a lake, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lake. It's a lake monster.
No,
A
it's
toy in
like
the
monster.
1980s.
Could be.
Get around.
No, that's a pogo stick.
Oh,
Ah.
pogo stick. Yeah. So there's a humdinger of a sighting recently, and this it's all over the news because it just happened yesterday, I believe. But the video that I'm looking at is from globalnews.ca, and I think this was actually captured in Canada.
Hey, you hoser. Was it a hoser?
It probably was a hoser.
He's sticking hoser.
But this video is 2 minutes 13 seconds. It is, bar none, in my opinion, the most conclusive evidence ever for any lake monster, any lake serpent. I think they're still trying to, research it and study it a little bit more, but it seems genuine. Dude's out with the sun, captures, this video is 2 minutes and 13 seconds, but his son's on like one of those standing paddleboard kind of deals, and over in the corner, you see all these wakes and waves, almost like it's a serpent that has humps breaking the surface in like 6 or 8 different spots. And the caption just says, another new video has rekindled the age-old debate about British Columbia's legendary lake creature. An Okanagan man says he has hard evidence that Okanagan's Lake Ogopogo is more than just a myth, and it's all over the place. So go check it out. I showed you guys, and your jaw just about hit the floor.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It's pretty wild looking.
Go ahead.
It looked like it was all kind of when you see the humps coming through, it's kind of all working together. It's not like it's a line of seals or something popping up out of the water.
Yeah, when you see like a pod of dolphins, look at that, I called it the right thing.
Ooh, there you
It's
go.
a herd.
Science.
It's a herd of dolphins, Eddie.
Is that what it's called?
It's a pack.
I thought it was a pod. Darn me.
I think you're right.
Those are the things that kids eat now, right? Full of
Dolphins?
detergent. Yeah, no, the Tide Pods.
Oh, right.
So the thing is, when you see a mini dolphins, it's a plethora of dolphins, moving through the ocean. You can see that they're all moving independently of each other. There's singular movements happening as a group.
Yeah.
That's something that's one whole piece. It's a single animal. You can just tell by the way it's moving.
Just thinking, who's that? Fergie with that song, My Humps, My Humps, My Lovely Lady Humps.
My Ogopogo lumps.
But, I mean, now this is just sparking debate because people are saying it could be a cousin of something called a zyglodon, also known as a Basilosaurus. I just butchered that. But there was an ancient species that went extinct 34 million years ago, and I'm thinking it's almost something that's, in a similar vein of like a plesiosaur or something like that.
Which they're saying Nessie possibly could have been.
Yep, Loch Ness Monster.
Right.
But this is all over the place. So the first, let's see. So another friend had his own experience, according to this particular article. The Shuswap Lake Monster, as it was known, in 2008. They did some research leading them to the legendary creature's pet name. So, I mean, we're talking variations of Ogopogo, but, right up there in the BC area. And whatever you're doing, if you're listening to this podcast, stop right now, hit pause. Go find a YouTube video of this and be prepared to have goosebumps. I mean, it looks like there's something there. I don't know what else it could be, because if it's not one continuous serpentine tail, it would have to almost be like, a group of sturgeon swimming, like synchronized swimming.
It's moving in one big.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing that gets me is like there's no. Like, not one of the humps is up while one goes down, and, there's not one of them. It's like they're all just moving together at once.
We'll post it on the website, so you can go to paranormaldads.com, and we'll have a link there go to the show notes for this episode and check it out.
There'll be a link. Cool. Click it. It just blows my mind. Is the giant eel still thing still in play as far as like Nessie and maybe even this is concerned?
That's always
it's always on the board.
For especially for Nessie, they say, it could be an eel.
Yeah, because they do have big eel. They have big sturgeon. Don't quote me on this. I don't think they have eel in British Columbia. But some people call it an Ogopogo wave. And it, in the video at least, it breached the surface of an otherwise calm lake. Let's see. The guy involved said, "We were the only ones on the lake that day. It was beautiful out. The lake was nice and shiny." The men said that it was 30 feet long, and it circled to the beach where the water became turbulent. The last sighting was right to the shoreline, and it was just spinning and turning the water like a current there. Some sort of feeding frenzy, it almost looked like. I don't know. And what's also cool about this is, unlike a lot of your UFO sightings or Bigfoot sightings, the video is it's clear, it's fairly close, and the dude's holding his phone still
steady as a rock.
God bless this man. He held his phone horizontal so that when you're looking at it on a computer screen, it's larger. It fills the whole screen as opposed to taking vertical video. So
well done, sir.
Yes.
You've done this before.
I'm proud.
That gives you 2 places.
One of my pet peeves.
2 thumbs.
Holding the camera incorrectly when you're shooting video.
I don't know. So I guess, it's fresh, it's new. We'll have to kind of stick around to see if anything comes of this. It doesn't smell like a hoax. But as far as, I don't know. Then you're going to have, Joe fishermen out there kind of trolling the lake, seeing if they can catch it. The people are going to be out there with
throwing sticks of dynamite into the water.
Yeah, there's always that guy.
I like to hope better for the Canadians. They're not doing that. They're
I think they're a little brighter than us. I hate to admit it.
They're throwing hockey sticks into the water. Hey!
My
thought is, if this was a hoax, It would be incredibly difficult. If you look at the video and just watch it, it's something that you would have to, even if you were to try to, you'd have to build something, essentially, to get it to do that, it would seem. And some sort of submersible that you could control and have like a giant tail attached to. It just seems like sometimes these explanations of a hoax take more, sometimes it's almost easier to have it to be a cryptid than to have it be a fake. Not saying that that's enough reason for it to be a thing, but it's just odd. Faking that would be very difficult.
You also need to have kind of the experts look at the video too to make sure it isn't CGI or something like that.
That's true.
That's always it's since it's a new video, it hasn't been scrutinized yet, and so you kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt right now.
But like Eddie said, sometimes when you look at some of these really good videos, that it would almost take more energy to hoax it than, it's almost more far-fetched to hoax it. On I think it was Travel Channel, there used to be a show called Fact or Faked, I think it was called.
It, yeah. So
they had a team of like journalists, videographers, paranormal experts, and they would take a well-known video of a ghost or a UFO, what have you, and they'd try to recreate it. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes they could, but the conclusion was similar each time. It was like the amount of work, like they would spend a whole weekend trying to duplicate this, and they're like, it's just not worth it. Like, who would do that?
I'd like to see that episode for the Patterson-Gimlin film.
Yeah,
you would think they probably covered that.
Yeah.
But so many times people have talked about this is like the essential Bigfoot video that's out there, and was produced in 1967, and people say back then you could not fake this in 1967 with the technology that was out there in costuming. Mm-hmm. It's just, it couldn't be done.
Right. Not only that, but that famous piece of footage, it was a female Bigfoot. And I'm sorry to say, if you put breasts on this thing, it's going to be even harder to fake.
Yeah.
And that's a detail that, like, why even come up with that as a thing? Like, not that it's just another
if you're
layer.
Faking it, why would you do that?
Yeah, it just takes more work to fabricate something like that.
Yeah.
And then even further, like, I don't know, we can get into the Patterson-Gimlin breakdown. But yeah, I just think and even with CGI, I mean, there are some pretty impressive editing tools now. But water, I think, has always been something that, especially like from someone's desktop, has been kind of a difficult thing to play with, like to water displacement stuff.
Right.
But it'd be kind of fun, like you were saying, Pat, like have someone break this down, have some experts start to see if there's, because they can even like start removing layers, can't they? Like reflectivity of the water and see if there's something even underneath and
probably. I'm
all
sure
that
they've
stuff.
Got tools for it.
My goodness.
There you go.
That's hot and fresh too. That's not
that's as recent as our recent sightings have ever been.
What more do you want?
This is like yesterday. Yeah, I think it was yesterday. I lose track of it. Was the 21st, so yeah, it was yesterday.
Oh wow,
nice.
So anyway, stay tuned. Ogopogo. There you go.
It's time for pop, culture, and the paranormal.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about things you can buy on eBay that are relating to the psychic and paranormal. So if you ever are in the need of merchandise that is haunted, possessed,
why?
Equipment you can use in a ghost hunt, this eBay is a place you can consider, not just Amazon. So. But I'm just kind of doing a search for things, and the first thing on the list, the Spirit of Martha, haunted porcelain doll, very active.
Oh,
does it say very active?
It does. And let's see, she's a very active lady, and since Martha is small, it's really easy to take her with you places.
She's like a haunted Polly Pocket.
She's a convenient.
Screw that.
She's a haunted Polly Pocket.
It says she loves this.
So you can take her to show and tell.
Yeah, you can just take her out and show her around. Take her out on the town. Let's see. Okay. There is a disclaimer to indicate that eBay forbids the sale of intangible items, and this listing is for only a tangible doll with no promise of spirit attached.
Oh, good. So you can't be like, this doll's not haunted. You can't bring it back.
I want a refund.
Despite the fact its entire
this doll just sits in my house and he doesn't move. So
you said it was haunted.
It didn't scratch me or anything.
You didn't try to kill me once.
How about a haunted wish granting notebook?
Oh.
I know Eddie's big into notebooks. He's always
He
always
really is.
taking notes
He's old
and
school.
things.
You noticed that?
When we went on our Bigfoot expedition, he gave each one of us a notebook. He
I
said,
did.
Here, take some notes. So, but this notebook has a star Fae, F-A-E? What is that? Star Fae.
Is it?
Star Fae, F-A-E.
Okay.
It has a Star Fae spirit's name.
Oh.
Is that like a fairy?
I think Fae is a fairy.
It will be summoned to serve you.
Oh.
So Star Fae spirits are from the astral realm, and they travel between realms. A Star Fae spirit is conjured and openly bound to this beautiful book. So you can basically write your wishes in the book, and your wishes will be granted.
Okay. So hardcore truth time. If you could write a wish into a Star Fae enchanted notebook, Pat, what would you write?
I would write, I wish I had $60 to pay for this book I just bought on eBay.
Andy?
Sorry, I was busy Googling the meaning of fae, and then he beat me to it. Yeah, it's a fairy. It's basically a fairy. In French, the meaning of the name is fairy anyway, and it alternate means confidence, trust, belief.
Oh.
What was the question? If I could grant
You could
one
write
wish?
anything into a Star Fae enchanted notebook. What would it be? Just one thing. Could be silly.
I want to, you know those ball pits that we had at, like, when we were
Yeah,
kids?
like
at,
Chuck E.
Chuck
Cheese or whatever,
Cheese?
yeah.
Yeah, so I want one of that, like, the size of an Olympic swimming pool, and I just want to spend all day in there
There you go.
and have people feed me pizza occasionally.
Kind of like a float session, except on plastic balls.
Yeah. Well, plus, I mean, you can't really go to Chuck E. Cheese and jump in there, or else you get strange looks and
or
they'll ask you
arrested,
to
yeah.
leave.
Or pink eye.
Yeah, or
That's a guarantee.
You might get a needle in your foot. But.
I would wish for a coat adorned with Kevin Costner action figures from head to toe.
Oh my God.
Like just hanging like Christmas ornaments, but all like not a square inch of this coat. The coat of many Costners.
Before we started recording, Eddie has this. What is it?
Batman.
He has a Batman lunchbox here in the man cave, and he went around and he asked me and Pat and Melissa. He said, "Guess what's in here?" And all of us are dead wrong. Who would have guessed 10 Kevin Costner action figures?
Right? Duh.
Expect the unexpected.
It was unexpected.
Melissa, if you could have a wish granted,
And
any
Star
wish,
Fae enchanted notebook.
naturally by a Star Fae.
It's not very interesting, really, but financially, I'd have my tuition paid off.
There it is. No,
There you
hey,
go.
Just take care of that, please. Terry, thank you.
let's buy that book. Let's put that book's cost right now. This is 60 divided by 4.
Maybe
We can do this.
$60. It could be a bargain.
If that
right
grants
there.
one wish, it's a good investment. Let's do that.
No kidding. Okay, I'll do. What is it? How do you on eBay? How do you buy stuff? Like buy now, isn't it?
There's a buy now.
You click the buy now link.
Do it buy now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving on, we have a Wicca priestess evil voodoo doll. Ooh. It's haunted and active.
Does active mean like it like gets up and has a whole workout regimen?
Well,
or is it more
I
like
think it's it does haunted stuff. Is the way I
Okay, I'm with you.
Take it. It's this voodoo doll is authentic, individually handmade by the witches of the Coven of Rosen, who are witches by birthright.
by birthright?
It's a handmade.
It's handmade.
That's creepy.
I mean, what?
It kind of
Human
looks like
skin.
it's handmade too.
Human hair and skin.
This is the real deal, and each doll has unique paranormal dark arts personality, and there are no two alike. So kind of like a Cabbage Patch Kid for the paranormal.
Kinda. It has a little signature on its rear end. Wiccan Princess.
Wiccan Princess Voodoo doll.
I don't want it.
Moving on, we've got it's a PS B7 Spirit Box.
Ooh.
With a orbital speaker, so this is like if you watch any of the ghost shows, like I spent most of my Friday night last night.
Well done.
You know, they carry it around, and it's kind of makes white noise as they're carrying it around. All of a sudden, like a word will come out.
Oh,
like
yeah.
the
It
last
uses that. It
spirits.
uses that white noise to kind of
Yeah.
carry a. You know.
Supposedly, the white noise will give the spirit's power.
A
They
medium
can
kind of-
drain from that.
I see.
Noise. So, yeah, that's running about $90 though. So it's
Those are scary. I've messed with one before on an investigation,
Uh-huh.
and the scary part is when they go quiet for like an hour or two on end, and then just out of nowhere it'll be like, "I see you," and it is kind of that
kind of a robotic
It
voice.
is very robotic, and it startles you because you forget you even have it on.
Right.
Yeah, and then it's like, what? Or if it mentions something like you're doing, like if you're, which I've heard of cases like that too, so it won't say anything for like an hour, and then, somebody opens up a bottle of water and it'll just randomly go like, drink, So I don't know, they're creepy, man.
I'm more of a fan of the PSB6. has more USB ports.
Let's see here. Here's another haunted doll. It's kind of cool because it looks just like who's that guy? Is that Charlie?
That looks like
what's his name?
Not
That's
Charlie
not
Chaplin.
No,
That's
it's,
Gar. Help me. Show Melissa. See if she knows. That is.
I thought it was Nikola Tesla.
It looks like Freud. Is that no?
No,
No.
it's Groucho Marx.
Groucho Marx,
Oh, my
that's
brain.
who it is.
Oh, my brain. It's so
So
broken.
it's basically a haunted Groucho Marx doll.
Oh, good.
I mean, what more could you want for Christmas?
I mean, I can come up with a couple things like this.
I'm not super familiar. It was a TV
Groucho
show.
Marx had like a cigar.
he
was
was like a comedian and
Comedian, okay.
That's the craziest thing I ever heard.
He was on one of the Marx Brothers. It was like a trio of comedians. There was Groucho, Harpo, and Beppo. Was it Beppo?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Confidence.
So, just tons of haunted dolls. They've got a lot of rings, too, like good luck rings that are supposed to bring you luck.
I've watched Lord of the Rings, man. I know better.
I watched The Ring, the movie.
Yeah.
You won't sleep for a week.
Yeah, no thanks.
Some of these rings will bring you luck in, let's say, the bedroom. But
What?
There's that kind of thing. So it's all kinds of interesting things on eBay.
Like they help you fall asleep faster?
So here's another thing. It's called a V-Pod, a REM pod. It's a paranormal detector, and saw this last night on some of the ghost shows. And it's basically like a box that has the lights around the top of it. It's like a round box, and it has an antenna that is supposed to, I guess, detect the spirits or something like that.
Looks pretty, if nothing else,
but
right?
it's basically you can ask the ghost questions, and then lights will blink and it'll make noises and stuff, and for yes no type questions. And
Oh, cool.
They use those on a lot of those ghost shows. I've seen those on.
I would like to, and this would be like probably the most boring episode ever, but I'd want to get into like the tech on how some of these things are like purported to like work.
I don't
like-
think it would be boring. I mean,
Like crack that sucker open.
Right.
Is it all like electromagnetic field? Is it, is it all voodoo? Is it full of
I know
candy?
one of the
it's like a pinata.
Is it full of Costner action figures? You can crack it open.
one of the more famous EMF detectors. It's like an electromagnetic frequency detector that is supposed to work for ghost hunting. There's a guy who built it. It's American made, and it's he's got a website, and there's quite a bit of detail on how it's supposed to work. So just do a search for EMF detector ghost hunting, and you'll probably find that site and learn more about it.
There you go.
Well, little spoiler alert here. In a few weeks' time, a couple months maybe.
Yes.
We're doing a little paranormal road trip, and we're doing an on-site kind of episode. And Pat was talking about getting some new fancy equipment for that journey, weren't you, Pat?
I was. And,
Not only did he talk about it.
Not
did
only
he get
did
it?
I talk about it. Well, here's the weird thing. See, I'm looking at. I was looking at one of these EMF detectors, and they run around $50, something like
Yeah.
that. And so I'm watching this show, and they have a few shots where it's close enough that I can actually see the model number and stuff. So I'm looking up the model numbers of all these gadgets and looking at them on Amazon. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get this one. I want to
Yeah.
get this. But I didn't think I actually pulled the trigger on it. And this morning I woke up, and it says, your EMF detector is on its way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I don't even remember buying it.
So he was meant to buy this thing because that sucker.
Were you having a glass of wine? 'Cause
Well,
that's a thing now.
That was my first question.
Like people, it's a family show, but anyway, people have a few drinks and order
Right.
things online, and then they have buyer's remorse the next morning. It's a thing nowadays.
Well, I think that was probably probably more the case than if like it was some kind of a specter who ordered it for me.
Yeah.
So, what if we're destined to go on this trip,
I'm
guys?
telling you.
But it arrives tomorrow, so I'm really excited.
However,
Do we want to give some people some details on this at all?
Sure,
If they want to
go
show
ahead,
up
yeah,
for it.
It'll be September 7th,
so it's a couple months away.
a couple months away, in Grand Island, Nebraska. So if you live near or around or are willing to make a road trip, please come out. We will be there as part of a group thing called the Grand Minicon, where we'll be there with some fellow podcasters and comic book creators and artists. And then there's going to be a free showing at that movie theater. And that movie theater is gorgeous. It is straight out of like 1955.
And it's also haunted.
And it is haunted. I just went down into the bowels of that building, and it is creepy. And there's been purported experiences, people seeing, full body apparitions, hearing voices. I mean, it runs the gamut. And so we were cordially invited by the board of regents on the theater and also the organizer of the convention to come and do a legitimate Paranormal Dad's ghost hunt. And we will be doing that after the convention, after the film. Oh, did I tell you the film? The film will be The Goonies.
Which has some scary parts to it.
Yeah. A free showing of The Goonies for anyone to show up. The movie is free, but the concessions are not. But beyond that, there's going to be we'll be doing a closed ghost hunt, but we will be sharing the video and all the fun stuff that we find.
Sure.
And
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
We're going to be Scooby-Dooing it all over that
I
place.
know.
Bumping into each other.
So stay tuned for more details.
We'll get on the
September
cryptid bus and roll up to Grand Island. It's going to be great.
Load up the cryptid bus. But yeah,
So
stay tuned.
what's the name of that theater?
The Grand.
It is the Grand.
The Grand, yeah.
So,
So-
yeah, very cool.
So stay tuned for details on times, but I think it's going to be roughly around like 10 o'clock a.m. to about 4 or 5 o'clock p.m. for the convention. And then I think the film starts around 6. And then when the film's done, our ghost hunting.
We get a ticket over.
Yeah. We'll have the whole theater to ourselves to. Melissa shaking her head.
Is it
no.
just the three of you then?
It's the three of us. We'll have some people sitting at a base camp. So it'll probably be like, I think, a grand total of like 6-7 people. We'll have some people up in the lobby with a base camp, air quotes.
And then we're going to get a cheap motel room for the night and get some good sleep before coming back. And I know you two, I swear to God, if we get a room with 2 beds, you two are going to be spooning again. Just like an expedition.
It's what we do.
Well, you had a cabin, there's only 2 beds.
You know what? We're not proud men. Paranormal
Yeah.
dads need to stay warm.
It's better than sleeping in a tent.
But, well, and we'll be going with some really good equipment thanks to Pat.
Yeah.
So, well, enjoy some of those haunted dolls and gizmos and gadgets if you're brave enough to search eBay for them. So, well, good pop culture there, Pat.
All right.
Woohoo!
And now it's time for the main mystery.
All right, here we are, main mystery. And this has been a couple months in the making, I feel. The hardest part, I think, was waiting because we picked this date
Yeah.
where Melissa was going to come be a part of our show, and it's finally here.
Yeah, you think it's hard getting the 3 of us together.
Add a
And then
fourth person.
Trying to add a 4th person is even more difficult. But
Yeah. And she's a paranormal mom herself. I mean, in a way, you have how many kiddos?
4 boys.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
That's amazing. You look well rested. You're not even.
Thank you.
Yeah, what's the age range of all 4 of them? Oldest to youngest?
6 to 14.
Jeez.
Okay.
So, that's that's like whole species in and of itself
yeah.
as like what they call them, boy moms. You know, like my sister's part of this group. She has 2 boys, and I could take a special human being to raise that much testosterone under one roof. You know?
Yeah.
Well, just ask Eddie about raising
3 girls.
3 girls.
It definitely makes you realize that men are just as they are because I see it with my boys. Like this is just the way you all are.
And I think it's almost next level because boys are gross, aren't they?
We're gross too.
I mean, yeah, men are gross too.
I just picked my nose with a garden gnome before we even started. Boys break things.
I have a picture to prove that also.
Oh, you
Yeah.
do? It's okay.
Nice.
I said I'm not a proud man.
Check out the Facebook page.
Check out our Facebook. What does Eddie do with his garden gnomes? Yeah, no, having all of a certain gender of a kid is interesting because you get like I grew up in a big family with boys and a sister. So at least we saw some glimpse into some of that stuff. But then as a parent, oh man, yeah, it's interesting. Pat's got the balance going. He's got the boy and the girl.
1 and 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get to see
So
both
we
sides.
balanced out nicely.
And Eddie's got one daughter.
Just
So
have the
there's
one
no
daughter. I
yeah.
mean, so combined with all three of us, we're working with, between us paranormal dads, we have 5 girls and
one boy.
one becoming
Oh,
a young
wow.
man.
Yeah.
Is my math right? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5 girls and one boy.
Yeah. Colton's the only boy. But,
Paranormal lad.
Yeah.
And then Melissa shows up and throws all this, evens the tables. With all
And then you show up with your 4 boys.
awesome.
That is great though. 16 to 4, you said?
14, 6 to 14.
6 to 14. Okay, that's amazing. It's a big. That's a good range though. He seems like. 'Cause,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I bet you the 16-year-old probably plays
14.
14. Why am I doing that? it's the gnome. I put him too far on my nose. 14.
Tickled your brain.
I touched my brain. The 14-year-old plays with the 6-year-old. I bet you quite a bit. I hope.
Yeah, well, they're all so different, but then they each have like qualities that are similar. So it's actually the 14-year-old and the 8-year-old are more alike with their like Minecraft
Oh,
and building
nice.
and Legos and stuff like that. So they're more connected, and then the other 2 are more athletic and yeah, it's
That's cool that
interesting.
they have a buddy. Mm-hmm. That's cool.
Yep.
sectioned off and formed teams. My mom is one of 11 kids. Oh. And I mean, after a while, like the older ones just start raising the younger ones, and the parents just keep making more offspring, and it becomes a self-sustaining system.
Sorta, until one of the kids is like, forget this mess, I'm done.
Going rogue. But awesome to have a paranormal mom on board. And, I think with anything, when we're talking about eyewitness accounts, credibility goes a long ways. And, when we got to chatting, Melissa, and you were telling me about some of your experiences, which I was honored to hear because, I mean, they're personal and they're important to you. And my first thought was like, it's like, you're a firefighter, for God's sake, among other things. I mean, do you want to talk a little bit about what you do? And you're going back to school, right?
Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, I'm a paramedic and a firefighter. I was in the military as a medic, and I'm also a photographer. But
And an artist.
yeah, I like to paint and do poetry and stuff.
Man, there's a Renaissance woman right here. She's not bored.
But yeah, I'm going back to school to get my master's degree in social work. So yeah, I'm just busy.
I mean, yeah, that'll keep you plenty busy. And but credible is my point. Down to earth. You struck me as a down to earth, sincere person, which I think is everything when you're talking to people who deal with the paranormal. Because I think, like anything else, you can't always take someone's word at face value. Mm-hmm. It depends on their character. And but one of your stories, and I don't know which one you want to begin with because there's a couple different, but there's a kind of a common theme of things that have to do with phenomena that's not from around here, you might say. Yeah. So where did it all begin?
Canada again. I can't ever get away from that place.
It's kind of weird to me because when I look back and think, when I like reflect on it too, I even remember being before the story I'm about to tell when I was a little girl. I remember like going on road trips with my family and going through like the woods or the wilderness and just being really scared at night and like wanting to hide underneath the backseat of the car and just being afraid of what's out there. But I never had any like idea of what I was afraid of necessarily. But, the first thing that happened for me was when I was probably 13 or 14. And, I was in bed one night, and I woke up and I just remember lying there and I could just sense that there was something standing next to my bed to the right of me. And I could just feel it. I could just feel it looking at me, and I was too afraid to turn and look. But I made a game plan in my head, and I just remember lying there and saying, okay, you're going to count to 3, grab your pillow, and run out the door. And then as soon as you get out the door, go in Mom and Dad's room. And their room was directly adjacent to my room. So I counted to 3, grabbed my pillow, booked it out the door, and then slammed the door. And now I'm like catching my breath and thinking, okay, next step is Mom and Dad's room. But then I was, well, I'm 13, 14, like, I can't go lay in bed with them. So then I decided I would go down the hallway and go to the living room and lay on the couch and go to bed there. So I went and laid on the couch, and the way that the couch was, I could look back down the hallway, and there was this dim light that was shining down the hallway. And so both of the bedroom doors were, down the hall. And then the next thing I remember is my door opening, and these like creepy fingers grabbing the door frame and just kind of wrapping themselves around the door frame, and then the typical big-eyed alien just kind of peered around the corner of the door and stared at me, and I was terrified. And
Obviously.
I think Eddie's having a
Eddie's
stroke over
face
here.
is-
Do you want to hold my hand, buddy?
I'm having an aneurysm. Oh, my hand. Oh, Andy, tell me.
I know, right?
Dude, it's
okay?
It's scary. And so then I was like trying to scream, but I couldn't scream because I was terrified, and it was like I couldn't get it out, but I was trying to scream for my mom. And the next thing I know, it does come out, and it comes out in this like garbled like type of
yeah.
sound. And now I'm back in my room, and I'm lying on my bed, and I'm frozen, and I can't move. I'm trying to like get out of my frozen state, and I'm lying on top of my sheets, which is the part that freaked me out because I was under my covers before, and now I'm lying on top of them.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that terrified me. And after that, I literally slept with the lights on in my room for probably a year or maybe 2.
I think
At
anybody
night.
would have.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
That is insane. Sorry. I have so much to say.
So you said it was the typical face, big eyes. Was it dark? Was it so dark? Could you see any color on the creature?
From what I recall, it's just like the lighter grade looking big eyes.
Was it fairly tall or short?
It wasn't tall, it was short.
This is the part that gets me, and this is something I can share with you too. We've talked about this before. Is the part about that gets me is that you got up, and that's the part I think that the whole sleep paralysis thing. And I get it, memory works weird, but the fact that you got up, left your bed, went to a different place, that's a lot of movements. That's a lot of blood moving. That's a lot of breathing that happens. I mean, you're awake at that point,
right.
And then you lay back down, and then you saw the thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't like you were paralyzed in bed and couldn't move. You got up, locomoted, made a plan,
Yeah.
thought it through. Like, I can't crawl in mom and dad's bed. And then you saw this thing peek out of your room.
One of the creepy things about the story too is that bedroom that I was in. I have 3 older sisters and an older brother, and one of my oldest sisters said that when she was younger and had shared that room, that she had a similar experience, except that she felt like there was like a demon in the closet, and she was terrified of the closet all the time. So,
Where is this? Where did you? Is it here
in
town?
Millard, yeah,
Okay.
105th and Q area, just a normal home. So.
So at that point, you almost have to wonder: was it something about that room, or is it something that runs in the family?
Right.
And I've heard a lot of cases that would lead me to believe that abductions and abduction type experiences and just sightings of weird lights in the sky, it does tend to run in families for whatever reason. And that's the other thing. You woke up on top of your sheets. Almost like, was it like you just came to and like, oh, hey, I'm in my room again. Why am I on top of my sheets? Was it just like a realization that you had been transported almost, or?
I just remember seeing the alien, trying to yell for my mom, and then the garble when it finally came out. Now I'm on my bed again, and I was on top of my sheets, and that part freaked me out. Like when I considered everything that had happened. It
like,
just,
how did I get
why
here?
am I on, because I think I thought to myself, was that a dream? Did I just have the scariest nightmare of my life?
Yeah.
But then I thought, well, why am I on top of my sheets? Why am I on top of my bedspread and not under them? If I was dreaming, why wouldn't I be under my bed?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's why I kept my lights on at night, because I was just terrified.
My goodness.
And then movies came out, Fire in the Sky came out.
Oh,
that movie scared the out of me. Oh, my goodness.
We'll bleep it if that's
Scared me.
Yeah, it would have been right around the same time ish.
Yeah.
So
'Cause
are we talking about like 94, 95, 96, something like that?
Yep, because it would have been 93 was my freshman year, so It would have been 90, 80. I don't even.
It's
No, you're fine.
right around then. But for anyone who doesn't know, if you really want a scary alien abduction movie, it's called Fire in the Sky.
Mel Gibson, isn't it?
No, that was
that was
kind of
from-
unknown.
That was Signs.
Signs, okay.
But Fire in the Sky was based on a true incident in the Pacific Northwest of a lumberjack group of guys who saw a craft. Travis Walton, one of them, went missing after the group saw him got beamed by a ray of light from a craft, and then he went MIA for a few days and turned up. I think it was almost like naked in a phone booth or something, according to the movie storyline. But yeah, you have your own experience and you watch something like that. I mean, would there almost be an element of PTSD after that?
I think so, because I was so afraid. Anything alien related just creeped me out. Like, it terrified me. And then the movie Independence Day came out, and I was a little older then, and for whatever reason, that movie helped me, because we fought back the aliens, and we won, and so...
He punched one.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, maybe there's a possibility that if something were to happen, I don't know why, but in my, teenage head, it helped me.
It was empowering in a way.
Yes.
Well,
So
Will Smith, too.
Welcome
The
to
aliens
Earth.
are coming. You get, welcome to Earth.
Smack! And Bill Pullman.
Bill Pullman.
You need him to be president. Not to pry too deep, but did you run this by your folks at all, or were you
It's
I know better than that?
Funny, because recently on Netflix there was that new documentary that came out. I don't know what it's called, but it's like real footage, and there's a scene in it. Do you remember we talked about it?
Yeah, I think you're referring to Extraordinary, the Stan Romanek story.
I don't
Where
know.
there was an
but
alien face in the window.
There's a scene in there
Okay.
where the alien peers around and looks at him, and I was at home alone watching this, and I was terrified again, and I think I may have even cried a little bit. And I called my parents, I'm an adult woman, but I called my parents and I told them what happened, and I'm like, well, my dad specifically. And I asked him, because I really love my dad, and he's a very intelligent person, and he's always said, it would be crazy to think that we're not alone in the universe. And so he's always talked about the, UFOs and the idea that we're not alone. And so I asked him, do you think this could have happened? And he was kind of like, why did you not tell me? When that happened, why did you not tell me? And he was kind of mad at me, he just seemed shocked that I hadn't told him, but I don't think I told them. Mm-hmm. So.
Isn't that weird?
Because,
Yeah.
because I wasn't sure if it was real, I didn't know.
Yeah.
And
Where
that's
do you start when
part
you?
of
Yeah. Oh, by the way.
I saw
over breakfast the next morning. Yeah, but has anyone else in the family had any, aside from your sister thinking there was something kind of evil presence in the closet, have they had any extraterrestrial experiences?
I want to say that my grandma may have, that my dad may have meant, and this is my dad's mom, that I want to say that he had mentioned at one time that she had said something, but I haven't dug into that, and I kind of want to now. I don't know why I didn't think to.
Yeah.
But
So again, it tends to run in families, and I think paranormal in general does, because you take the can off, the lid off that can of worms, and you start asking other family members. You might be surprised, you listener to our show, you might be surprised if you share your experience with a family member. They might have their own, and everyone's just kind of too shy to bring it up in the first place. But
don't start your first day of work off that way.
no,
Get to know your coworkers, then share the ghost stories. I learned that the hard way.
yeah.
Just saying.
Well, you are the oddball at the office, aren't you, Eddie?
Yeah.
But a lot of your buddies there listen, though.
They listen. Yeah. And I mean, then this is not to get off. We won't get too off subject, but this is where you should share your stories, share them appropriately. But I mean, the thing is, you never know who you're going to help and who you're going to connect with, and be able to kind of make them not feel like they're alone. Because I mean, I have had coworkers who have been like, I got grabbed one day, and someone's like, that happened to me, and it's like the person I never would have guessed said that. So it's just it's good that you're sharing in a way.
Well, just a year ago, you and I were sitting at the table at Comic-Con, and it was amazing. We sat there for 2-3 days. How many people came up and shared stories with us?
Right.
Just really
willy-nilly.
Yeah, stories you wouldn't normally think someone would come up and tell you.
Yeah.
But they were very open to share their experiences. It was really cool.
It's cool.
So, but your experiences didn't
stop there. It sounds like
it didn't. So you had a experience, and I don't know what even the protocol is for this, how much you can share. But you had an encounter while you were in like in the military. What branch of military were you in?
I was in the Army Reserves,
Okay.
so it was during basic training.
Basic training.
In
Do you want to
Fort-
kind of what state did this take place in?
It was Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri,
Okay.
and we were doing our week out in the woods. And I was a squad leader, so I was in charge of like keeping track of my row, basically in the platoon. And so everyone was sleeping, and I was up, and I was counting everybody in their little foxhole that we dug. But anyway, I was standing there, and I think I don't know, I just noticed in the sky this bright light. And if you think of like the entire expanse of the sky, it started like shooting across the sky. So it would start at one point, and then basically it would make the shape of a triangle, and the light would just go from one end of the sky and then across the sky, and then it would stop on a dime. Is that the right term?
Yeah.
And then it would go down and then stop, and then it would go back to the original point, and it was making like this triangle in the sky. But the speed of it and the way it stopped so quickly, it was like impossible in my mind for it to be anything man-made. And so I woke up this girl named Bailey, who was, right next to me, and I woke her up, Bailey, wake up, look at this. And so she got up, and she was like, oh my, so she was witnessing it also.
Okay.
And then I was like, okay, this is a UFO. So I broke chain of command, because I was supposed to contact a platoon guide first, with the radio. And instead of doing that, I just went right to the drill sergeant. And I got on the radio and was like, Drill Sergeant, I think I see a UFO. And he cussed at me and told me to shut up and get off the radio, and like, and I was like, okay. And so here I am watching this thing. So meanwhile, it comes back to the highest point that it had been in the sky. And then below it, there was another beam of light that stayed. So the bright white light at the top stayed. Then there was another light below it that beamed on, and it stayed. And then another one below that beam, and then another one below that beam. So there were 3 lights that were not quite
kind
as
of like in a vertical
straight
row,
down,
straight up and
vertical.
down.
Yep, and equal distance, but not equal, like from the white light to the first one. That was a little more of a distance than the other 3. Anyway, so the 3 bottom lights were probably like a more muted color, not quite as bright as that main light. And then they just turned off, and then that top light just right out of the sky, just gone.
How fast was it gone?
I mean, it was impossible. Like a plane, you see a plane in the sky, and it's, just kind of moving along, or a satellite.
Yeah.
This thing was like
Covering just
the whole sky.
Yeah. Your
Like-
entire field of vision from one
Yes.
spot to another. Boom, boom.
Yes, it was
boom,
crazy. It was impossible.
Yeah.
So then, meanwhile, my drill sergeant marched over to where I was and was like, okay, tell me what you saw. And so I told them, and he's like, we see all kinds of crazy expletive out here. He's like, yeah, and then he just brushed it off, and because I wanted to know, like, is that,
Right.
do you see that kind of thing out here? But
Isn't that funny? And we've talked, and this is the
Yeah.
part,
just
I'm a broken record. I'm a
brush it
broken,
aside.
every time. We got bills to pay. Get back to thing. You know what I mean? We reset back to the normal so quickly. It's like, whatever. Yeah, it's weird. Moving on.
Yes.
And I just go, why? Like, why? I get it. I get it. Like, tomorrow we still got to get up, still got to do the things we have to do. We're here for a reason. We have a mission, all this stuff. But that doesn't change the fact you saw a thing do what it did.
yes.
So
And
he kind of insinuated that they do see things out there all the time.
we see crazy out here all the
Poo-poo.
time.
Poo-poo.
Poopy, stinky poo in the sky.
That's what he said. This is
Poop in the sky.
grizzled guy chomping on a cigar, missing an eyeball. We see crazy poo-poo out here all the time.
That's the sequel to Fire in the Sky, Poo Poo in the Sky. So it has a lower budget.
Right?
Wow.
That's insane.
That's
Oh my
bonkers,
gosh.
man.
So when you saw that, did some of what you experienced as a kid start to kind of come back to you too as you're watching this? Are you like,
No,
Okay.
no, it did. I mean, that was always with me. Like, it's always bothered me, and I've always wondered about it. Like, was that real or was that not real? Did that happen? Was I abducted? Was I not? I don't know, And
Right.
so, but seeing the UFO to me was less terrifying.
Yeah.
It was less personal.
right?
Part of me was like, are they following me out here?
That's what I was gonna get at.
Are they, like,
did you
keeping
feel
track
like in
of
some
me?
weird way was this a
Right.
you thing?
Well, and the other thing I think about is like, okay, so I joined the military and then I joined the fire department. Is part of this my own like way of keeping myself safe? because I have to be somewhere for 24 hours at night. They can't come get me if I'm, you know.
Yeah.
I have to be doing my job.
You're
so,
surrounded by
yeah, like
I got responsibilities.
yeah, you
aliens.
can't take me.
I'm too important to this world.
Got lives to save.
That is crazy.
I think we all know a couple people we wish they would take and not bring back. But
There's a really cool show. It's actually a fairly new show on, I want to say it's History Channel, but it's about like UFOs and stuff. And it's basically follows the guy who was the head of it's kind of like the Pentagon's UFO...
Project Blue Book?
Well, it wasn't Project Blue Book, but it was something very recent. He recently left his position, and he kind of went out off on his own. We talked about it when we were talking about that San Diego sighting where
it was like
the
agency,
F-18s.
Yep, that was formed
and there was
recently.
like a secret agency that studied UFOs, and now this guy has a show that he's doing, and, and they're investigating this, and he's got a lot of, former politicians and some pretty, major people
It was
working
a senator.
with him.
Yeah, that documentary is called Unacknowledged.
Yeah, or
believe it's-
Unexplained or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few of them out there.
But-
There is one with Dr. Greer, I think it is, Unacknowledged, and it does kind of touch on, don't quote me on that, but I think that's it, and it touches on a lot of different, congressmen, senators who publicly were like, yeah, this is happening, we've known about it for decades, cover-ups galore.
But they had interviews with the fighter pilots who saw these things out around San Diego, and you were talking about the speed of what you were seeing, and that's exactly what they were saying. It's like, it's impossible that something man-made could have moved that fast,
Yeah.
So it's...
And if there's a living entity inside of there, the speed at which they're stopping, your organs would be squished.
Yeah.
Due to
the
inertia.
number of
You
Gs.
can't decelerate like that with a living being as we know it inside unless you have a... Is that what you're thinking, Eddie?
Well, it's funny you should go there because the most recent episode of Ancient Aliens, season 12, everybody.
How big is that guy's hair now?
It's so good. It's even bigger than him. His hair has hair. That's where we're at. His hair has its own hairstyle. The whole episode was dedicated to that Navy pilot footage that was just recently featured in Time magazine and also Newsweek, and it's actually being discussed in some not just other publications, but quote unquote real big ones. And they're showing this Navy airplane video footage captured of this UFO zipping all over the place, and they're watching it, and the pilots are commenting, kind of like exactly what you said, the velocity and the maneuvers. If you had forget human, if you had an organic pilot in there and they had organs, they'd be turned into liquid by how fast this thing is moving around. And they had literal, I said they, I hate, but whatever. They took this video and had astrophysicists and aeronautical engineers and all sorts of people watching this. And what they observed, this is where it gets nuts. The episode is called Element 115. And it ties into that Bob Lazar special, which is also another movie that's out. But the idea is that there's a new element that is basically it can warp gravity. Mm-hmm. That's kind of one of the properties of this element, and that utilizing not just this element, but this element run through a process that they can create a fuel that allows the vehicle to warp time-space around it to where you can do those maneuvers and it doesn't have an effect on you because there's no atmosphere. The gravity doesn't exist inside that.
So the guys inside feel like they're not moving at all.
The guys inside aren't moving at all. In fact, they're not moving at all. They're moving the space around the object, not the object itself. It's bonkers. Ancient Aliens.
And they actually have video of it?
Video of this thing captured. I mean, it's the most recent thing. Yeah.
I've been trying to find on anything to see if it matches what I saw. I've just been looking, so
they're following it, tracking it, and so it doesn't do the maneuvers you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
But it does do these quick, you'll see it doing this way, and all of a sudden it'll just be like this, whoop, and it'll just rotate on an axis, 180 degrees, and they're like, that doesn't happen.
Right.
Even planes, it takes some time to do that kind of movement, and this thing just flopped.
Yep.
And then it flopped again, and then it flopped again, and they're like, that doesn't happen. You can't do that.
When you saw the triangle thing in Missouri, Melissa, can you give us a reference point of how far apart the 3 points of light were in the sky? Are you talking from tip to tip was horizon to horizon, or if you held a suitcase at arm's length, was it about that size out in the sky?
There you go. Hold a He-Man figure up.
You have action figures to choose from.
Like, okay, so if this is the suitcase.
Okay. So about
It would
24
be-
inches?
Yeah, it would be from here to maybe 2 or 3 suitcases, and then it would go down to maybe 1.5 suitcase,
Okay.
and then back, because it wasn't a perfect triangle. It was like a
See, almost like if you can, if listeners, if you can picture like holding your arms out, almost like when you're doing the YMCA dance.
Yes.
If you're holding out the Y from palm to palm, and you imagine a point of light out in the sky that way and out in the sky this way. And from hand to hand, that's just a couple feet. But if you're talking out in the sky, points of light, you're talking tens of miles, dozens of miles, hundreds of miles, thousands. I mean, that's a big craft.
You don't go from...
Well, you're the surveyor, Eddie.
Oh, now you're going to throw surveying on me. Okay, so...
Curvature of the Earth and all this stuff. How big would that thing...
I mean, it depends on a lot of stuff, on how high... The more you look up,
Yeah.
the more the distances change. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if you're looking... what was the angle on which you were looking up? And I will say this. It is miles. It's definitely miles. And it's more than 10. And it's not hundreds necessarily. It might be 50. But you don't go from 50 miles from there to there in the blink of an eye.
And when you see like a plane in the sky and it's up there and it's kind of a little light, this was a bigger light than like a plane would be if a plane was up. So it seemed to me it was closer to Earth, or to the to the ground than like a plane would normally be.
So it wasn't as high as an airplane would be, but still, I mean, moving, even a UAV, and I'm sure you guys, we've all seen these, drones up in the sky. Those things cooking can't go as fast as a plane, and you can send, I think the max speed on one of those drones is like a commercial, like we could buy it now, drone is like 30 miles an hour. Yeah. You're not getting from 50 miles plus instantaneously, and you're saying instantaneously, like just pew pew.
Boom. Like you could see it go.
You could track it, but it was
and it would
that
stop,
fast.
and it would stop.
There's
perfectly,
nothing,
and then it would just sit there.
Was it a solid object, or do you think it was one? What am I trying to say? Was it like a big solid triangle that blocked out the other stars in the sky, or was it just one point of light that was stopping on a dime?
The light was stopping on a dime,
Okay.
and it was like a very bright, specific light that was. And it would stop and sit for a little bit, and then it would go down to the next spot, and then it would stop. And it wasn't like ding 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 ding. It wasn't like going that fast. It would take its time. It would take its time once it stopped, and it would sit, and then it would.
Well, it's a very definition of a UFO. You can rule out drone. You can rule out airplane. You can rule out it wasn't a satellite. It wasn't a shooting star. Shooting stars can't stop on a dime, let alone repeat a triangle pattern.
Or go multiple directions.
Yeah, you're running out of explanations other than entertaining the idea that craft was not from around here.
Well, the weirdest part too was the 3 lights that came below it that were a different color,
all of a sudden.
and it was one at a time, bing, 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 like right, consecutively.
Did your adrenaline kick in, and like was your heart pounding at that moment, or were you just like dumbfounded?
Yeah, I was dumbfounded, and I woke because I'd woken Bailey up to witness it, so she had witnessed it too. Yeah. So I know that I wasn't the only one that saw it. Mm-hmm. And then, just that whole thing with the drill sergeant coming over and wanting to know, and I wanted to know more, but he wouldn't
allow deeper
So
investigation.
He sounded like he was in a great mood, so you don't dare ask, what kind of neat stuff have you seen out here?
I know, like
really?
Let's talk.
Tell me more.
I'll make the tea.
It's funny you have that quick, and I'll just add this real quick. I don't want to derail us too bad, but I had a similar experience years ago before we moved into this house, our old house. 3-4 years ago, we were out on the deck and we were stargazing, just me, my youngest, and my wife, and we were looking at the stars. Beautiful, clear night. I mean, you could see almost everything. Super dark. It was gorgeous. And we even at one point were tracking the space station, and we could see the little, as it goes, and we're like, this is so cool. And I saw what I believed to be a shooting star. I'm like, oh, look, it's a shooting star. Until it did kind of a figure 8. And like you're saying, it was up as high as the stars. So I'm up seeing what I think to be a star or a shooting star, and then all of a sudden it does a curve, comes up, and then whips back around again. And like you're saying, the distances you're talking about are not. And it was a star that just decided to do this, just a figure 8.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah, I remember. It was a long time ago. You told us about that.
Did it zip out of the sky when it
out of sight? It literally did this, came around, did another curve, and then phew.
Yep, that's how it did it.
Gone.
Up to the right.
And it's like a sideways figure 8.
A sideways, like
that's
a
sign
sideways.
for
infinity.
Infinity symbol. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, but it just did. It did the motion. It came up, did it, and then just took off. And I was just like,
That's like a good dance move you just did.
Oh, thanks. I'm gonna call it Paranormal Dad. But
it's like he has a lasso up here.
I know, it's like infinity lasso.
But and it's one of those things that as it happens, you're just like, cool. And then I just went inside, because it's like, what am I going to do?
Hop in your car and chase it.
I'm coming.
Come back.
I straight up hillbilly again. It's a ghost. I know it. Put on my goggles. Get in the car, Zeke. The dog jumps in with an eye patch. Well, here we go. And he never was seen again.
Yep.
So you have another story, I think, right? And I'm excited now.
Yeah.
The campfire's going.
This one I think is just a dream.
Okay.
But it happened a couple nights ago, three nights ago. And so in my dream, I'm in a basement and I'm with, I think, my kids. And so there is a window, a small window, and I can see, if you look at the reflection of a TV, and then that TV is reflecting the window. Okay. So I'm actually looking at the TV, and from that I can see out the window, and I see a UFO. So now I know they're coming for me. And I tell everybody, you guys need to get ready, they're coming. And then the next thing I know...
I'm nervous.
Well, and so I never actually see an alien, but I'm handed a child, an alien, like a hybrid baby, and it's probably 2 years old, and I know it's my daughter, and it's...
You finally got a daughter.
I know, right?
Hey, whatever it took.
But so now I'm holding this baby, and I'm actually feeling very loving towards it, and I can tell is feeling loving towards me, and we're holding each other, and it was awkward. I woke up and I'm like, what the heck was that? But it was interesting.
Wow.
That's a doozy. So hybrid, it looked kind of alien, kind of human?
Yeah, it was like a 2-year-old, but it was like a small person size type 2-year-old maybe. And the details, I guess, of the face I can't really say right now, but it wasn't quite human, and I knew it was a part alien, part me, baby, and a girl, and it was was my daughter.
What's interesting, if this was just a average Jane sharing this story, you might dismiss that, but you've already had experiences with aliens, lights in the sky. So for you to have something like that, it just makes you wonder a little bit more. Could it be more than a dream? Was it more than a dream? Depending on how deep down the rabbit hole you want to go. But one of Pat's favorites, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, or is it the Fourth Kind?
Third Kind.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind, great movie. From back in the day, and that movie kind of, spoiler alert, but if you haven't seen it, it's 3 decades old.
Yeah, it's out of
4. It got released. It got released when I was born.
There you go.
I think you're clear to talk about it.
Yeah. So at the
spoiler alert.
Ending of the movie is that the craft lands on top of Devil's Tower in Wyoming, and the aliens get out and basically show people these alien hybrid babies that are part human, part alien. Yeah, you do. I literally see goosebumps on your arm. So I don't know. It could be just a dream. I think for the sake of your sleep and our sleep and everyone's sleep, we'll just say it was just a dream.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Wow.
Woohoo! That was fun.
That is amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. Gosh.
Welcome.
Have to keep us posted.
So I don't know. I think we all need to decompress and watch some cartoons before we go to bed.
No Marvin the Martian stuff. Not doing that. No. Yeah.
Well,
my gosh. Well, I guess for anybody else out there, share your stories if you'd like with us on our Facebook page and such.
Well, not just because your story needs to be heard, but just, for a person's own sanity, just to get it off your chest. You know, it's, again, you might be surprised at how many other people have a similar story, and if we can just act as a sounding board for you, I promise we'll read every email that comes in. We read every post on our social media pages, and if you've seen weird lights in the sky, and we're always open to having future guests on the show, so it could be you. Contact us. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
ParanormalDads.com.
Yeah.
Yep. ParanormalDads@gmail.com.
Email link. Yeah.
Yep.
But thanks for having the courage to come on our kooky show here, Melissa.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, sleep tight, everyone.
Have a good time.
Good luck.
Sleep next to another person that you can wake up.
Like a garden gnome.
And sleep with a garden gnome. They have pointy
Actually,
edges.
I recant. I want that fairy book back. I'm going to use that as my protective.
There you go. I want to be left alone.
Yeah. Please
night.
do not abduct me.
Do it!
Okay.
I have to pee.
Andy has to pee.
Should we give a play-by-play?
Here he goes.
Andy is going into the bathroom.
He's going to the bathroom right now. I have a doll. Her name is Sally, and she's afraid of ghosts.
Is that a Christopher Walken
Yeah.
impersonation? Dude, you nailed it.
That was good.
On TV, live TV, and this reporter
carnival, yeah.
lady is talking to this little boy. He's got face paint on, and she says, "What do you like at the fair?" And the kid says, "I like turtles."
She comes back, she's like, all right, well, come on down to the fair.